Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Like everyone else, I'm in support of this bill. I would like to say that most people I know consider the main point of punishment to be to prevent crime, to deter crime. It is important sometimes to impose long sentences for the worst offenses to deter crime, but for a teenager, teenagers are not able to really calculate the difference between a 15-year sentence, a 40-year sentence, and life. All those periods are well beyond what they can really comprehend. Or to put it in a more vivid and probably clearer way, there's no teenager out there who will say, I'm going to do this illegal action if I'm only going to be in prison for 15 years, but I wouldn't do it if I would be in prison for 40 years or life. No teenager is able to make those kind of calculations. If teenagers were good at planning that well in advance, they would be a lot easier to raise children than it is now. Or I should say that teenagers who are that careful in planning, young people who are that careful in planning ahead, tend not to be the people who get into serious crimes to begin with. But I don't think you would find teenagers who come into crime making that kind of advanced planning and saying, yeah, I've carefully looked up the law. I'm going to do this because I'm only going to get 15 years in prison. What's 15 years in prison? Well, 15 years in prison means there'll be an age where when they get out, there'll be an age where they're no longer in touch with a lot of the things they were when they're younger, and that is such a big loss to them that they're not really able to say that's an acceptable price. So it's that I have never heard of any teenager who commits a crime thinking in those terms. I do think it's normally important to have a judge think about what kind of sentence would be appropriate for a person, but as many people have said before, the children grow. What you do as a child does not necessarily represent what you're going to be as an adult. And in a lot of different fields in life, we know that the abilities you have the potential to have are not going to show at age 15 or 17. We don't elect a president who's 17 years old. In a lot of fields, you wouldn't even accept somebody as a graduate student who's 17 years old. You wouldn't accept somebody as a marriage counselor who's 17 years old. There are just many aspects of the person that you're going to be that are just not showing at the teenage years because a lot of other elements in your mind have gotten on top of that. And some things have not had a chance to grow their full potential, especially for people who start going into criminal things. So it is. I think many of us know that people have grown out of things. People even grow out of supporting Hitler, and a lot of us have seen stories of people who've grown out of being teenage Nazis. Doesn't happen to everyone. Not everybody grows out of the mistakes that they make, but a large percentage of them do, large enough that it's worth saving them, and it's the job of the parole board to make that determination. But there is a tendency to age out of violent crime, and especially if somebody's sentenced to prison for what's for them an unthinkably long period, that's plenty of time for people to age out of crime. And I'll also note that in addition to common sense, no religion I know of says that sins you've done as a teenager can never be redeemed. All religions realize that there's a chance for people who've done even the worst things as teenagers to redeem themselves. For those. And I know we do want to deter crime, we do want to punish crime, but what a judge can decide at the time of sentencing is only going to be based on what they see of the 15-year-old or 17-year-old before them. That's all the judge has access to, and the judge can make a judgment of the person's character as it is then, but we all know that people do a lot of their maturing after age 15 or 17. It's only the parole board that's in a position to to judge a person's character and whether they are still a criminal at heart, which is something that they're in a much better position to do than the judge is. So we say that the judge has to decide whether to sentence somebody to a life sentence, but the judge is not really in a position to make the decision about what this person is going to be like in their mid-30s and their 40s, and that's something that the parole board is trained to do, and they are able to actually evaluate the person as they are at that more mature age. So they should be the ones to make that determination. It doesn't mean everybody is going to be released. I'm not saying that everybody does grow out of their criminal attitudes, but a large enough number of them do that I think it would be that is well worth doing. And I understand the idea that you want to hurt somebody who's done something bad, but there should be limits to what we're willing to do to hurt a child, and if that's to hurt somebody who's only a teenager, and if they do something terrible at an age when when a lot of people are capable of growing out of it, then it's worth checking whether the individuals in question do manage to grow out of it. And for that reason, I think this is a good bill. Thank you.